Y2 News Weather and the Hour is brought to you by Teplik Laser Surgery Centers. Your vision for the future.
On World News Tonight this Tuesday, the Goldilocks economy, a near perfect balance. The American embassies we called for advice about terrorism, some of it quite strange. 1/3 of the country's public schools think that teaching sex education means teaching no sex at all. How realistic is that? And returning to yesterday, Paul McCartney goes back to where it all began.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We're going to begin right on the money tonight in the broadest sense. Today we got our last look at inflation for the year, which sounds a little dry, but once again, just as the country gets deep into the Christmas season, as we get to the end of the year, the United States is engaged in dynamic economic activity and without any stumbling blocks in sight. The Consumer Price Index, which measures inflation, was up just 0.1% last month. Inflation for the year is only 2%. And retail sales, the consumer spending that feeds the economy, up 0.9%. So the boom continues. Here's ABC's Aaron Brown.
The inflation report paints a picture of an economy in near perfect balance. While the cost of housing went up, the cost of clothing went down. Meat up, vegetables down. Fuel oil rose, electricity dropped. No signs of inflation, no sign of a weakening economy, no sign of trouble.
Right now we have what's called a Goldilocks economy. It's not too hot, it's not too cool, it's just right, and it's been just right for a very long time.
The economy has grown steadily, at times faster than some economists believe possible without inflation. But inflation has remained virtually non-existent because many of the fears and uncertainties of the beginning of the decade evaporated.
The government has handled its deficit problem. Technology has created additional new jobs and better jobs. And the world economy, we see more and more economies embracing markets and embracing trade and competition, all of which makes the global economy more efficient.
This efficiency, whether it's finding the lowest price for parts on the internet or finding the lowest price for labor, is the driving force of this economy and American business.
Everything gets accounted for. Everything has to work. You squeeze things, and you get more out of them.
And at the end of the decade, the end of the century, the bottom line has never looked better for longer in history. Aaron Brown, ABC News, New York.
And then there is Wall Street today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was down more than 32 points today to close at 11,160. On the NASDAQ, stocks were down more than 86 points, 86.5. There is another warning from the government today that Americans may be in danger as the century draws to a close. We have learned that the Pentagon has issued a secret warning to U.S. forces throughout the world to be on their guard. The Defense Department says it's mainly concerned about Muslim extremists in countries where they fear security may be relaxed during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. This is clearly very much on Washington's mind. It was the State Department just the other day warning civilian Americans that they should be careful. The department also suggested that Americans overseas call the embassy for guidance. ABC, Sheila McVicker, from her post in London, made some phone calls.
We called 14 embassies on 4 continents. We got a range of answers.
Consular section, can I help you?
In Cairo, they told us that tens of thousands of people will gather for a concert at the pyramids on New Year's Eve.
So you'll have to take this into account before you choose to go there or not.
In Rome, where thousands more will gather to pray with the Pope, the advice was practical. Don't look too American, don't sound too American, and use a little common sense. But in Moscow,
American Citizen Services,
the embassy told us they didn't know anything about the State Department warning.
Unfortunately, strange though it may seem, we haven't received it.
It was issued on December the 11th.
Well, so far, we don't have it.
In Nairobi, where a terrorist bomb destroyed the U.S. Embassy last year, officials at the new embassy told us they hadn't yet read the warning. Security-conscious Tel Aviv warned us to avoid Palestinian demonstrations, but wouldn't tell us whether it would be safe to be in the crowds at Manger Square in Bethlehem. And although the State Department warning expressly says stay away from large crowds, there was this curious bit of advice from the embassy in London, where hundreds of thousands are expected on the banks of the Thames.
It's going to be a hell of a lot of Brits down there. According to the warning, it is specifically Americans that are in danger, I guess.
Same message from the embassy in Paris. Big New Year's crowds are okay, as long as they are not all American. And finally, there was the woman in the embassy in Berlin who advised us not to attend the New Year's Eve rock concert at the Brandenburg Gate. She acknowledged that was more a question of personal taste than personal safety. Sheila McVicker, ABC News, London.
Still overseas, in Chechnya today, the Russian army resumed bombing the capital city, Grozny. Russian troops did escort a few hundred civilians out of the capital, but between 15 and 40,000 others are trapped, either too afraid or too weak to leave. There is no indication the Russians will let up their attacks, even with all those civilians at risk. In the Netherlands today, the United Nations Yugoslav War Crimes Tribunal has given out its stiffest sentence for war crimes. Goran Jelicic, who called himself the Serbian Adolf Hitler, was sentenced to 40 years in prison for slaughtering Muslims and Croats in Bosnia 7 years ago. When we come back, giving up a symbol of America's global power, giving Panama the Panama Canal. And the most common form of mental illness for children, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
World News Tonight with Peter Jennings and On the Money. Brought to you by Merrill Lynch.
Yeah, let me get this straight.
Yes.
Are you actually saying I don't have to pay you a separate commission every time I trade a stock?
Exactly.
I'd pay an annual fee instead.
Right.
Is anyone getting
If
this?
we don't pay you a commission every time we trade, what's your motivation?
It's just like always, Ann, your best interest.
Could you just explain it again?
Maybe what it is the fee is based on the value of our portfolio. So when we succeed, they succeed.
You'll have to be patient with us. This is all very new.
What's the secret to great-tasting Alfredo sauce? It starts from scratch. Classico introduces new creamy Alfredo sauce, inspired by the made-from-scratch recipes of Rome. New Classico Alfredo. Made-from-scratch taste makes it Classico.
What if you could treat wrinkles like an expert would? With Rock, the #1 anti-wrinkle cream in France, you can. Developed with dermatologists, Rock's pure and active form of vitamin A works deeper, inside skin surface. In a 12-week study, the appearance of fine lines was reduced by 86%, wrinkles by 42%. Something more superficial beauty treatments could never promise. Rock, we keep our promises.
It's an important week in American history. The United States is one step closer to giving up the Panama Canal. Actually, after building the canal and controlling it for almost a century, today's handover to Panama ceremony is all but the end. It was President Theodore Roosevelt who decided the canal had to be built, and when he went to Panama himself, it was the first foreign trip a president had ever made. The canal helped America become a global power. Today, on the other hand, the president was conspicuously absent. ABC's Barry Serafin is there.
It was an event that drew 6 presidents, even a king, Juan Carlos of Spain. But the U.S. was represented by a former president, Jimmy Carter, who signed the treaties to transfer the canal 22 years ago. There was anger here that President Clinton turned down an invitation, and Secretary of State Albright canceled at the last moment.
So it's an unfortunate situation, really.
Is it indeed viewed as a slap in the face here?
Oh, very definitely.
All but a handful of the U.S. troops who occupied the canal zone are gone now. Panamanians are already moving into what was American military housing. A former radar tower has become an eco-lodge. But many Panamanians are not happy to see the troops go. The U.S. military spent $350 million a year here and employed thousands of local civilians.
On the military bases, we got 18,000 actually out of a job. We do not have a future.
Panama today pledged to keep the canal open and secure, and the treaties have a backup provision.
If necessary, the United States retains the unilateral right to defend the canal.
America's commitment to the canal stretches back more than 90 years when it took on the daunting job of carving the waterway through 50 miles of mountains and jungles. America had a can-do attitude personified by Teddy Roosevelt. Building the canal cost $352 million, and more than 5,600 workers died of yellow fever and other diseases. But when it opened in 1914, the canal was an astonishing achievement. Today, 14,000 ships a year still pass through the canal every year, including half of all U.S. shipping. But for Panama, it has been a love-hate relationship. For all of its benefits, the canal has been a foreign-owned strip right through the middle of the country.
We as Panamanians have to learn how to live without gringos. And that's very uncomfortable because we've had the gringos to blame for all our ills for all of our history.
Now, a clock in the canal zone is counting down the hours until December 31st, when the last American flag here will be lowered. Barry Seraphin, ABC News, the Panama Canal Zone.
Cubans are briefly in the news again today. In St. Martinsville, Louisiana today, 7 Cuban prisoners have taken 3 hostages. The Cubans are waiting to be deported to Cuba, and they say they're frustrated with waiting so long. One says he's been waiting for 13 years. 4 of the Cubans have served prison terms and under U.S. law must be deported. Cuba says it won't take them. Just ahead, using profiling, just like they do for criminals, to determine which students may become killers.
Planning a holiday party? Make it a very splashy event. Serve a seafood platter from Red Lobster. Shrimp, crab, or both. Either way, it's seafood worth celebrating. Order yours today.
Nobody does it like you. He lives on the carpet. You want it to be clean. Hoover Wind Tunnel reaches deep down to pick up more dirt than any other clean air upright or canister. Hoover. Deep down, you want Hoover.
Don't get that, Frank.
Hello? Baxter!
Meow, meow, meow.
New Meow Mix seafood middles. Mackerel and tuna flavors make it taste so good. Cats ask for it. By name.
It's time. Time for your heartburn to kick in because your heartburn relief gave out. It happens 2 or more days a week, even though you've treated it and changed your diet. That frequent, persistent heartburn may be due to acid reflux disease, potentially serious.
It's Prilosec time. Time to see your doctor about prescription Prilosec. Your results may vary, but for many people, Prilosec provides 24 hours of complete heartburn relief with 1 daily dose. Ask your doctor for more information about Prilosec and if it's right for you. The most common side effects are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. 24 hours of complete heartburn relief is possible. It's Prilosec time.
Why do I have Aflac insurance on top of my regular health insurance? Because he has his mother's eyes. Because I still have to teach him to whistle. And because Aflac helps cover what other insurance doesn't. If I'm injured, Aflac even provides cash to help pay bills. So why do I have Aflac? Did I mention he has his mother's eyes? Aflac supplemental insurance. Without it, no insurance is complete.
We're going to take a closer look tonight at 2 of the most important issues being considered in schools and by parents without question: sex and violence. In the aftermath of school shootings over the past several years, one of the most pressing questions always is, couldn't school officials see the signs? What about the alienation, the anger, the potential for rage and violence in the students who went on those shooting sprees? Couldn't anybody see it? ABC's Michelle Norris first on a very controversial method to spot potentially violent students.
This school system in Granite City, Illinois, is the first in the country to adopt the policy of profiling. It is similar to the scientific technique that the FBI uses to spot serial killers and terrorists. Here, all school employees are on the lookout for 20 possible predictors of violent behavior: uncontrollable anger, preoccupation with weapons, and mood swings. A student, for instance, who writes about the dark side of life could be sent to an evaluation team for help.
Certain topics are going to be scrutinized if they're alarming.
In Los Angeles today, a well-known security expert unveiled new computer software designed to help evaluate the severity of students' threats.
The Mosaic methodology will bring to schools an organized, fair, intelligent, and expressible way of talking about evaluations of risk.
More than 20 school districts plan to test the Mosaic 2000 program, which uses a long series of questions and a national database to help predict whether threats could lead to violence. But there are worries about the potential for misuse.
Innocent children may be labeled very much to their detriment and treated in a hostile and repressive way when they've done absolutely nothing wrong.
In Granite City, they understand that concern, but they say the bigger risk would be to do nothing, instead of trying to understand why some students are driven to violence.
We know, given another 13 weeks or so, on an average, there's going to be another shooting. I just want to do everything I can to make sure that in 13 weeks it won't be in Granite City.
The science of searching for students who might turn dangerous is controversial and could lead to legal challenges. But a growing number of schools think it is a valuable weapon in the war against violence. Michelle Norris, ABC News, Washington.
From students and violence, we now move to students and sex. A majority of public schools in America teach some form of sex education. But in many of these classrooms, the only education students are getting is that sex should be avoided. Is that realistic in the 1990s? Here's ABC's James Walker.
When it comes to sex education in North Carolina's public schools, the policy is to teach abstinence and abstinence only.
You don't do it, okay? So that's all we can teach you.
North Carolina is far from alone. 2 studies released today show that 1 out of every 3 public schools in the country teaches only that young people should abstain from sex until they are married.
They're not teaching about how to use contraception or the value of different contraceptive methods as a preventive against STDs, HIV, teen pregnancy.
The emphasis on teaching abstinence grew after 1996 when the federal government provided $250 million. 15 states created nearly 700 new abstinence-only programs, raising the total across the country to 1,000. But critics of abstinence education say teaching contraception and disease prevention is crucial.
In terms of this overall policy, it's not just naive or misguided. I really do believe it's irresponsible and dangerous in the era of AIDS.
Wagner says that American teenagers are having sex in large numbers, compared, for example, to teenagers in Europe. U.S. teenagers have 13 times the birth rate of Dutch teenagers, 25 times the gonorrhea rate of Germans, and 3 times the abortion rate of the French.
Clearly they're doing something right, and the something right that they're doing is giving young people information about sex and contraception.
But conservatives counter that America's teenage birth and abortion rates are going down, and say what is needed is even more abstinence education bolstered by moral education about the sanctity of marriage. James Walker, ABC News, New York.
There's quite a lot about children in the news today. When we come back, how doctors treat those children who cannot focus or calm down.
Excuse me, coming through. See ya.
Now bouillon's moving from your pantry right to your stove. New Weiler Shakers. Instant bouillon you can use as a seasoning. So shake up the flavor with new Weiler Shakers.
All right. All the way to...
But conservatives counter that America's teenage birth and abortion rates are going down, and say what is needed is even more abstinence education bolstered by moral education about the sanctity of marriage. James Walker, ABC News, New York.
There's quite a lot about children in the news today. When we come back, how doctors treat those children who cannot focus or calm down.
Excuse me, coming through. See ya.
Now bouillon's moving from your pantry right to your stove. New Weiler Shakers. Instant bouillon you can use as a seasoning. So shake up the flavor with new Weiler Shakers.
All right. All the way to the corner, girl, can you do a little do-si-do?
Imagine calling a dance without worrying about your dentures slipping. Thanks to the all-day hold of Super Poly Grip, I can laugh and smile and take a healthy bite out of life.
That was a lot of fun.
The new Blue's Clues Edition Gateway Astro PC was made to hold the kids' interest. It's got 4 Blue's Clues titles, and it's an internet-ready Gateway PC to keep them learning. It's $899 with an Intel Celeron processor. Order by the 20th for guaranteed Christmas delivery.
Today, we step on the gas in a brand new vehicle with 0 miles on the clock and over 200 years of experience behind the wheel. ExxonMobil.
Good morning, Mr. Schwab.
Introducing Velocity from Schwab, the new incredibly powerful online trading software system. With the power to place multiple orders at one time, it's fast and smart. And, if you'll pardon the expression, cool.
This is the face of erectile dysfunction. So is this. And this. Fact is, 1 in 3 men have some form of ED, a medical condition also called impotence that affects men of every age, race, and background. What else do all these men have in common? They all faced up to their problem and got help. If you're experiencing ED, there's no need to hide your face. Just talk to your doctor. It's the best way to get educated about ED and how to treat it.
The National Institute of Mental Health has released the first long-term study of the most common mental illness in children. It is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. As many as 5% of American children suffer from ADHD. Methods for treating the symptoms vary, and today's surprisings may surprise those who are skeptical about drugs. Here's ABC's John McKenzie.
If you want to get a sense of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD,
Oh, my God!
follow Jeffrey Rabinowitz for an evening. He is in constant motion. Doctors have been debating for years whether children like Jeffrey need powerful drugs to control their behavior, or whether intensive behavioral therapy, constant rewards, and gentle punishments could provide the same results over time. What this 14-month study concludes is that no, behavioral therapy alone is not as effective as drugs. That drugs such as Ritalin, whether by themselves or coupled with behavioral therapy, produce the greatest reductions in symptoms.
They didn't call out as much. They didn't interrupt other kids. They followed classroom rules, which meant that in many cases they were able to sit in their seat for longer periods of time.
This study finds that not only do drugs play an important long-term role in the treatment of this disorder, but that typically children who receive these drugs could actually benefit much more from them if doctors did a more aggressive job of managing the treatment. The study suggests that when it comes to this attention deficit disorder, doctors too often prescribe a drug, then forget the patient. That doctors need to work more closely with parents and teachers to monitor the drug's effects. It also suggests that many doctors should consider giving the drugs to a child in more frequent doses, 3 times a day instead of twice a day, and in larger doses than typically prescribed.
You find the dose that achieves the absolute possible total benefit for this child and keeping your eye on side effects. That's the dose you want, not the lowest possible dose that you can get by on.
The study suggests that unless many more doctors improve the way they manage this drug treatment, many children with this disorder will not receive all the help they need. John McKenzie, ABC News, New York.
Now some of the day's other news. In Washington today, opponents of genetically altered food filed a class action lawsuit against Monsanto, the gigantic biotechnology company. The lawsuit alleges that Monsanto sold genetically altered seeds without making sure they were safe, causing major financial losses for farmers. Monsanto says the lawsuit is baseless. In Maryland today, a judge has ruled that Linda Tripp did not have federal immunity when she gave tapes of her conversations with Monica Lewinsky to the Office of the Independent Counsel. Ms. Tripp is trying to avoid standing trial for taping the conversations, which she may have done illegally. This is going to be Charlie Brown's last Christmas. Oh, yes, they'll play the special on television over and over, but Charles Schulz said today that he is retiring. Lucy and Snoopy and Woodstock, the whole gang. Mr. Schulz is fighting colon cancer, and so after almost half a century, you will see your last Peanuts strip in the newspapers come February. When we come back, Paul McCartney, back where he once belonged.
This holiday, over 7 million pets will be homeless. But when you buy a limited edition PetSmart ornament for $4.99, you can help. All proceeds go to PetSmart charities to benefit local homeless animals. Make a pet's holiday wish come true at PetSmart.
The hot flashes got pretty bad. Night sweats were ruining my sleep. Vaginal dryness made intimacy uncomfortable. And I was worried that estrogen loss at menopause could lead to osteoporosis, a long-term health problem. Menopause is complicated. Talking to my doctor helped. For me, she prescribed Prempro. It's relieving my uncomfortable symptoms, and along with calcium and exercise, helping prevent osteoporosis.
Prempro is only for women who have not had a hysterectomy. Prempro is not for every woman. You should not take Prempro if you've had any breast or uterine cancer, abnormal vaginal bleeding, abnormal blood clotting, liver or heart disease, stroke, or if you think or know you are pregnant. Tell your doctor about your personal and family medical history. Side effects include blood clots, nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, breast tenderness, irregular bleeding, and headache. For more information, talk to your doctor about Prempro or call.
I'm glad my doctor prescribed Prempro. Now I'm feeling great. For me, it's Prempro.
We both ate Quaker oatmeal for 30 days, and it helped lower our cholesterol 10 points. In the Dewey Decimal System, that's between computer programming and library science.
Library science, that's my favorite.
Quaker oatmeal warms you heart and soul.
Wednesday, some call her an icon. Winona Ryder speaks in depth and shares her personal battles for the first time.
What was the first clear sign you were in trouble?
A Diane Sawyer exclusive on 2020 Wednesday.
After nearly 25 years, we connected you to thousands of opinions. And after thousands of broadcasts, there's always room for one more voice. No one connects you to the local issues better than Town Hall.
Thank you, most of all, for joining us for Town Hall.
Finally from us this evening, well, from him, actually, one of his most important yesterdays. These people have descended from all over the world on the English city of Liverpool.
We got here at 8:30 this morning, and we just can't miss Paul.
Guess who they've come to see?
What's it like to be back?
Paul McCartney, back home in Liverpool to appear one more time at the Tiny Cavern Club.
You know, it's fantastic to be back at the Cavern. What better way to rock out the century? This is where it all began.
The Beatles legend was born in the Cavern in the early 1960s. They played for as little as $8 a night until 1963, until there was Beatlemania. Today, only 300 people got in. They won their tickets in a lottery, even though the Cavern Club's owner said there was nothing he wasn't offered for a ticket.
It's magic. Everybody knows that him playing here is a piece of rock and roll history.
Welcome to the Cavern!
McCartney had always said he'd be back, and what better way to mark the end of the century?
For me, this is where the century is going to end, with me playing rock and roll, which, if you remember the Beatles, before the Beatles was a fabulous little rock and roll band.
This, he said, was his tribute to all of the great musicians of rock and roll.
Welcome to this house, stop all that yakety yak.
No one was disappointed. Nice. That's our report on World News Tonight. Later this evening on Nightline, William F. Buckley Jr. is going to talk about the last broadcast of Firing Line. I'm Peter Jennings. We hope you have a good evening, and that we'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
From ABC News tomorrow, hold on to your hats. The outrageous Robin Williams is in our studio.
I'll be there.
Diane Sawyer's interview on Good Morning America tomorrow. And on World News Tonight, a high divorce rate and packed churches. Why the government is stepping in to save marriages. Watch ABC's World News Tonight. This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News.